If you're a car guy like me, you probably spend your evenings when you get home scrolling through Marketplace, and every now and then you find something that just seems too good to be true. This is a 1966 Mercedes 230 SL. This is a German delivered car, Euro spec. It's in kilometers per hour still. It's extremely neat, it's extremely rough. But we found this thing on Marketplace. It was like 10 o'clock one night. The ad sort of looked a little odd, but I went ahead anyways, contacted them. We got this thing brought home. This one's definitely gonna be interesting, but in today's video, we're gonna attempt to get this thing running for the first time in at least 39 years. Yeah. One thing that's kind of neat, you'll notice this is a obviously 6-cylinder automatic car. I had mentioned it is a 230, but it actually has a 250 engine in it. We looked at some numbers there. What's odd is it's a 66 date code. And I actually have a friend here locally that used to have one of these years ago, 230, Euro spec, and it had a 66 date code 250 in it too. So if you know these cars, is that something that was common by chance? Not really sure, but everything looks rough. It looks really rough, but hopefully savable. Obviously an automatic. I've heard they're really fun. We're gonna get it going as an automatic. What's nice is the 230 is an externally balanced engine. There's a little bit going on there as far as the possibility of a manual swap. It seems to be extremely tough because you have to balance the flywheel and everything, take the engine apart, machine shop, all that fun stuff. With the 250, it's a slap-in 4-speed swap. So down the road as we go on this car, because the end goal on this car is obviously, this was a scrapyard car that we brought back. Our plan is to bring this one back similar to that one. Obviously, really rough, more complete. Budget 911, we're gonna attempt a budget SL Pagoda Mercedes. The hood is held on with hopes and dreams anyways, with it laid back. I think we can kick it up a little farther, but let's just go ahead and take it off, get it out of the way, grab our vacuum cleaner, and first thing, vacuum all of this crud out of here. We've got a lot of, I'm not sure where it came from, but quite a bit of rust and stuff down in here. And then obviously other junk and trash from now mouse nests and stuff. And then let's get digging in. I am so excited to see if this engine is free. I just know this bolt's gonna break. Maybe not. Oh, not bad. Fair deal. That spring is rowdy.
It's only aluminum thinking.
Yeah, just hang out. You just hang out there for a minute.
Oh goodness, that thing don't weigh nothing.
It's actually pretty clean under here once you get all that vacuumed out. No, in reality, I'm not sure how you folks up in the northern states handle cars like this. Thankfully, the more we've looked this car over, structurally, this thing's actually pretty sound. I want to get this thing up on the lift. Most of the floors look good. The trunk on the inside looks brand new. The frame rails are perfect. It's mainly where that salt from those northern roads got caught up in these fenders and stuff. So it's definitely a savable car. Let's get a look-see. Oh, not bad. Look, 230, 250. Dipstick. Strong smelling oil. I always say, yes, some old oil. Oil is obviously extremely old, but if you know that smell, that old leaded fuel, I don't know, there's just something about that old oil that sat for all those years. It's good to see no signs of major moisture though. Wow, that's beautiful. Interested to see if we've got coolant in this car. I imagine something from up north would. That is absolutely bone dry. First thing I want to do, as long as this car has sat the crustiness that it's been through, let's go ahead and get those spark plugs pulled. We'll take a look at our combustion chambers, the condition of those combustion chambers, and we'll go ahead and soak everything down. As long as it's sat, we don't want to just go cranking over and potentially scarring up cylinder walls. There's just so much going on in this engine bay. I'm gonna take loose our cap, and then we'll pull the whole wire set in one go. Beautiful. Man, that thing's actually sealed up really nice. As we're pulling these, just for the heck of it, I'm gonna tape and mark each cylinder just so there's no question when we go back together. See, that original Bosch cap definitely needs some cleanup, but not in horrible shape. Definitely a bit nervous. Pulling these spark plugs out of an aluminum head. Not bad. Cylinder number 1. Beautiful. An old Bosch spark plug, RO 142. Definitely was time for some new plugs. Crispy old spark plug, but our main focus here, that combustion chamber side, looks good as far as no crust. Number 2, excellent. It's not that stiff. I wonder how many threads it's taken out. Oh my, hoses are just falling apart. Is that the fuel? Oh, it is. That's just pure rust. This thing's gonna be a monster. I know nothing about these fuel systems. It's not bad. Little bit of condensation, some slight surface rust, but not terrible. Oh no. All right, we're gonna come back to 4 here in a minute. How about 5? 5, you look like you wanna come out. Yeah. Not bad. Nice. Best one yet. I like it. Maybe it's just the weird angle, right? Oh no. I'm gonna try to throw a few rounds of heat on this plug. If we can keep from pulling threads out, we're gonna try. Just keep moving. Ha! Came out clean. Yep, that's a crusty one though. And that's why it was stuck. Looking down like in this one, actually looks really good. Even that one's not horrible, but it's a little crunchy. Definitely not worth taking a chance with this one. We're gonna go ahead and fill these cylinders up with Marvel Mystery Oil and let this thing soak. Over the next few days or potentially week as this thing soaks, I want to watch and see if that Marble Mystery Oil leaks down. What that's going to tell us is that it's going past our rings, which is a good thing. Hopefully means they're not stuck. We are spinning over freely, and that is awesome. But with this, and definitely one thing that makes me nervous, is there is a lot of other stuff going on that we have to dive into. This isn't just a crank over and go to town, rebuild a carburetor kind of deal. This is running an injection pump, kind of like a diesel style injection pump. We always like to go ahead and drain that oil. As long as this is sat, all of the gunk, sediment has settled down into the bottom of that pan, and that'll give us an idea in case there's any moisture or anything. We can go ahead and get it drained. At the same time, showing us if there were any major issues. So let's get that oil drained, and I want to start opening up our fuel system a little bit without getting too carried away. It's like a tractor. Not bad. Not super crusty in there. See if we can get all these hard lines off in an assembly. Hopefully, oh, I dripped. Oh, some gas. Oh. Bone dry? Bone dry. Not a drop of coolant. Well, that's not good. If I pull the valve cover, I'll have good access because you got to hold the injectors while you take the lines loose, which it wouldn't hurt to look under the valve cover anyways. Nice. Injection pump's good and free. I was worried about that. I think our linkage is locked down to our pedal probably. Crunchy. How are you supposed to do that? Great. Oh my goodness.
They weren't playing around with that radiator.
Oh boy, we are gonna have to flush that cooling system. I hope it's okay. Water pump feels all right. Backing the transmission up gave us a smidget of room. Oh, it's so close. Maybe I need the transmission out. So maybe that's all it was, the transmission out. How's it looking there? Not too bad. Look at this little oil squirter. Kind of nice and tight that chain is still. No sludge buildup or anything. What a neat setup too. Ooh. It's a little crunchy. Might just be where the line is mounted. If we clean it up, it should be. I don't see crust down in it. It's just around right there. Whew, that one's got fuel on it still. Whew. Like it looks loose, but none of the injectors look too terribly bad other than right here. But I think maybe these were just a little loose. Had a little crust. These look excellent. I think there's a possibility we might be able to save this thing as long as it'll work. Hopefully that little bit of stanky gas we see popping up out of there was just from us turning this thing over by hand a little bit. And this injection pump is wanting to work. With the little bit of crust that we saw, these all seem to want to pop out of here easily. We've got the ultrasonic cleaner. These are really robust injectors. In fact, most of this fuel system is. If we can just pull them out, clean them, we might be able to just, look how clean that is. I am leaking gas on me. I want to keep these in order. How I pulled them out. I like the fact, as bad as it smells, that there's still gas in there. It tells me that the injectors are holding too. Man, they don't look bad at all. Whew. I'm gonna smell like booty all day. Is everything looking up top? Let's get this oil drained. Right on the right way. It's a bloody drain plug and it's tight. No, it's not. Golly, that thing's huge. Holy moly. I'm gonna put some Marvel Mist oil in there. Not bad at all. No moisture and no sludge. I do like the fact that it's a cartridge filter and we can take a look in here. They put a man in there. I'd say it wasn't serviced. Well, it sat for a long time. Just clean as can be. I say clean as can be. Look at this nasty old filter, but you know what I mean. Not only do we throw this thing up on the lift so we could take care of reinstalling that oil filter, but I wanted to look at the car. And if you can tell, other than that little front cross member, which even the actual, where the mounts go, we should be able to grind that out, still have our tabs on the front of the frame rails, and just re-weld that on. The rest of the frame rails are perfect. And this oily grime probably helped a lot of that. If you run down the car, frame rails are super nice. Into here, the floor pans are actually pretty decent. Couple little spots. Moving back, little surface rust right here, but nothing actually rusted through. Rear frame rails look really good. Everything up here, super oily and grimy rear axle. That is the funkiest looking. Look at the spring. What a weird spring. What a weird setup. I bet it rides nice. I bet it's a monster to work on. Rear frame rails, super good all the way through. And so that's the big thing here, is it's actually structurally sound. As rough as it looks, you know, those spots where all that salt collected in this car, it was clearly a garage kept car, even though it was driven, because I'd imagine it'd be a whole lot worse if it'd been outside in Ohio. And you can see that where this thing was drugged down, probably on a tow dolly, all the way down here from Ohio, way back in the 80s. Man, that's crazy. That makes me feel a lot better seeing this thing underneath. There's gonna be a lot of work when it comes time to restore this thing. One thing I want to figure out with a car that's been sitting for so long and came through an estate and everything, we don't have a key, and I'd love to be able, once we put a battery in here, to turn the ignition on and everything. And so we need to figure out, we couldn't order one like we did with the 911, so we'll probably have to get a tumbler assembly. I've noticed someone had the tack loose. Maybe they lost the key previously, and this is an issue someone was trying to figure out. You're supposed to pull the speedometer out to get to it. This is gonna be fun. Maybe the radio. Let's fiddle fart with this radio a little bit and see if we can get it to. We all know how these work. Just hoping they hadn't killed this dash and we can put the original bull punked back in here. What the heck? That's a face on a face. Yep. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. That makes me feel better. Yeah, they weren't messing around with all this, were they? Holy moly. Cut it off where it says what it is, at least. Anyone want a radio? Here's the bracket for the tachometer right here. I bet you that's why the car got parked. The ignition switch came apart. See it back in there? That's just the electric side though. That's easy to replace. That makes me wonder. You can tell that's been out that tack had been loose for a really long time. They had obviously been digging in here trying to figure that out. Maybe that ignition switch just came apart and they were trying to get it solved. That might be good. Definitely gonna get rid of this old security system. I think that's what's holding our panel up here. Does anyone know? Fox? I'll have to look that up. So see if you had to, that's actually replaceable. Nice. Looks like if we get this column drop now, we should be able to get to a little lock bolt that actually holds this ignition switch in. Reached up and around and was able to get the jam nut here loose. Now our ignition is floppy. We just need to pull it out. We're getting there. Most forums I've looked said this is an all-day job, and they weren't lying. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. defroster. Someone put a hole in this defrost box. I don't know who that was. That was already like that. I just know it. That's probably $1,000. That thing just completely came apart. There is that mess of an ignition switch. I am going to, if it's cheap enough, we'll just get another one, because there's a reason it came apart and we don't want it to do that again. Now this right here, I'm hoping we can take it apart. It looks like there was supposed to be pins here that you have to drill out, and I think someone's already removed them. Someone was definitely into this ignition system. Oh, that's so cool. They're punched in. I'm not sure. Maybe this whole assembly was coming apart or something. Here is our new tumbler assembly. These things obviously were not super cheap, but I did some looking around and I ended up finding this one for almost $200 cheaper. This one was about $200. And I feel like to get the new bezel, that tumbler assembly with a key, definitely worth that, especially in a car like this. One thing I notice is it doesn't look like this has to be turned a specific way to be removed. Let's drill it, I guess. I wonder if these are pinned down in. There it is. The only thing I'm noticing is the set screws line up here, line up here. So if we're going to use those set screws, we'll have to pull this out. We're going to have to drill fresh holes for them to drop in, it looks like. Definitely a bit aggravating, but the late models are $800 to $1,000. Have not seen a single early model, so no telling what it would cost, and that's used. So we probably just saved ourselves $800 or $1,000 at least, making that right there work. I think it's a wonderful time to pull this top off. Not only do I want a little bit better visibility to reinstall this ignition switch, but I want to see this thing topless. I like that. That right there is what this car's all about. It's actually not. It's that the Pagoda shaped roof, but she looks good with that top off. Oh my god, it's harder than rock.
Yeah, the whole thing's cut to rock because that's like a Corvette. Hey. Oh, gotta go more.
It's blue. Oh my. That tells me that's probably an expensive top. So yeah, that was this car was originally the white with the blue seats and the blue top. That was a papyrus white. I may be saying that wrong. I was gonna put the ignition back into the column and put the column back in, but if you can't tell, all of the plastic and vinyl and stuff on this car for some reason has just deteriorated. With that being said, the bushing that the steering box mounts to has disintegrated, and before we even try to put it back in there to attempt to drive this thing, we're gonna have to replace that. So I've just got the ignition switch stuck here for now. I think we'll throw a battery in it and see what it'll do. We are full of oil, and I soaked down the rockers and everything, so a little bit of turning over until it primes. We should not hurt anything, especially with spark plugs out. But let's just hope it does turn over. Man, that is one pretty cable. Nothing blew up yet. You ready? Bad connection. I guess I should have known that probably wouldn't have the greatest of connections. Ooh, that's like nails on a chalkboard. So that's actually the cutoff, the fuel cutoff solenoid popping, which is good. That means it's functioning. Yeah, but why wouldn't it? Like a primer or something? I wish I knew how anything worked on this car. Checking our ignition, we've got 12 volts coming in. That's our signal. So we're getting our signal like we're supposed to. Lights on the dash. Low gas light works. And then that's probably a charging system light. We look okay here at the ignition switch. Everything's hooked up right. Let's start looking at that starter. Wow, that signal wire is gone. The main cable looks good. I'm gonna check voltage and everything. This must just be from heat right off of the exhaust manifold here, because everything else, all the other wire on this car actually looks really good. So we've got good voltage there. Hit it and hold it for me real quick, please. Starter might be bad then. Huh, I am not getting anything on the signal. Let me try to bump it with the jumper real quick and see if it does anything.
Can't turn.
Nope, that starter's not doing anything. So they put the bolts on this side. This one you can get to, that one you can't hardly. If this was any other car, we would probably give that starter some love taps. But I imagine that's not an inexpensive starter, so we want to take care. Holy cow, that thing is heavy. How are we gonna put it back in? I don't know. We'll figure that when we get to it.
I got a color. I got a new color.
Nothing. That functions correctly. Brushes are good. And it actually sounds pretty good. So we're just in that solenoid. Because you can not just buy this solenoid, I did a little bit of research and we found this guy here. I think it's an updated style, and it's actually an AC Delco. General Motors, kind of weird, but that looks right. The only thing that changes is we have to put a bolt through on the bottom, but otherwise, there's a new starter and it was only about $60. We'll get it tossed on there and see if it starts turning over. With the starter back in, we want to start trying to turn this thing over, but I had a little bit of a thought. I want to check the oil on the injection pump. There's a little dipstick down on the back down here, kind of underneath. And before we run it, probably need to service it, but at least for now, I just want to, yeah, there's a little T-screw. I don't even know if you'll be able to, can you see that down there? Kind of at the back here. And we will pop this open and check. Oh man. It's actually, it's over full for sure. I think it has a little bit of old gas in there, so that might maybe just weep down a little bit. We definitely got oil. Oh my gosh. Oh, cool. I think we're good to drop the battery back in here and try to turn this thing over. Once we've got this thing turning over, if it does start to turn over, we'll have to get into this injection pump and change the oil. Now hopefully, I mean, you're talking about 1986. The last time this thing was on the road, maybe there's a chance that just all that time the gas weeped down. We'll have to change it, and then if we can get it running, we'll see what the injection pump does, but it might end up needing a service. Maybe it's got a neutral safety switch and all the bushings popped off so the shifter's not actually attached anymore. Let me get in there by hand. Let's make sure this thing's actually in neutral. Okay, that makes no difference no matter where I put the shifter. So we've got to figure out what kind of issue we have. Let me throw the jumper on this thing and let's try to just jump out the solenoid now that we have what we hope should be a working starter and see if it turns over that way. Kind of nervous. Absolutely. No problem. Look how smooth it is too. No weird noises. And it shouldn't take just a second here to start pumping some oil over. Oh yeah, look at it. Holy moly. Look at all the oil pressure coming out of the tubes already. Oh no, transmission fluid. Wow, look at the print. Why am I making such a mess? Transmission still got good line pressure. We'll get a loop on this line. Look how clean that fluid is. I know checking the dipstick level looked good. It looked really clean, but no doubt all over the floor, it's very clean too. How are you gonna loop that? Oh man. Yeah, those lines, those lines are gone. And that's like steel lined. Okay. Well, it's pretty obvious none of the rubber is very good on this car. Much better. Awesome. Now I think to give us something to do before we start digging into this fuel injection system, let's see if this thing will get some spark. This distributor is super, super dry and extremely clean. And let's just grab the ohm meter really quick. Let's see if it makes a good connection. We'll throw a wire on here and let's see if it fires. Do we have a connection? Those points are pointsing. Yeah, so it is just like straight up shorted. Let me try disconnecting right here and breaking that and see what it does. Alright, so there's that. Now let's see what we have. Still shorted. Just goes to show how dry of an environment this thing actually was stored in. The fact that those points don't need to be cleaned and they are still attempting to work, but we obviously have a short where this little bolt here passes through the body. It should have a sleeve kind of where it goes through right there. So I've rolled this little O-ring on here that should act as a bushing until we can get the correct one in here. Make, break, make, break. Cool. With that short taken care of and everything hooked back up, we can turn the ignition switch on. And it is firing away on its own. Holy moly. That is all the oil pressure.
We are turning over smoothly. We are firing, but we need to get this valve cover back on. This thing is, everything is moving super nice. Everything looks awesome. It is pumping a ton of oil and it's going everywhere. Let's start looking into this fuel system now. Before we do much more turning over anything or messing with the injection pump, we know it's over full and diluted. It's not like crazy super gassy. Maybe it's just from this thing sitting for so long. We'll do an oil change and try to get this thing to run, and once we get it driving stuff, it'll kind of show. We'll see pretty quickly whether or not it continues to rise up with new gasoline, and we might have to go through and have that injection pump done, or maybe do it ourselves. Remove this filler cap here, which is also a vent, and I believe we can just take this and suck all of our oil out. Well, it definitely had a lot more in it than it was supposed to. We're still going. Now this holds 280 to 300 milliliters of the same oil that we used in the engine here. There it is, dead on the full, maybe just slightly above, which should work out perfect. We'll give it just a little bit of runtime. Well, hopefully we'll give it a little bit of runtime, and then we'll check it and see how it looks. Thinking about it, and I had the oil here, you're supposed to oil this little felt right here for the distributor, which will be good, especially for a first initial start after sitting so long. And it takes just 2-3 drops of this oil, like so. Clean the contacts here in the cap up just a little bit with a brass wire brush. This thing is actually in really super nice shape. Now back in with our spark plugs, I've ordered a set of OE Bosch spark plugs, but for now, we'll run a set of NGK coppers for an initial start. And we just want to make sure, it should be pre-gapped, but yeah, we're about 32 thousandths gap. We're gonna put a good amount of aluminum anti-seize around that spark plug there and run them back in. I just want to make sure I hand start all of these. These have a crush ring, so you'll run them down snug and then a quarter turn or so, but you'll feel it. You just don't want to make sure, you want to make sure you don't over tighten. Forgot to pull all the caps off. Now to get fuel hooked up to the injection pump, I'm gonna cut these lines. They're complete garbage anyways, and they look like they're pretty reasonable to replace. If anything, we could potentially consider having them redone. So there is our inlet and our outlet, and we've got to trim the crimp off here, and then we should be able to pry it open and get to the barb on this and this. We get as close as possible. it off. We do this a lot with Volkswagen diesels. It's like, Honda, boop. You can see a nice barb that you can connect to. And for now, we're gonna run it to this 15 PSI fuel pump, which is basically to replace or take place of the lift pump back here under the car. All of our fuel lines are just disintegrating and everything. There's gonna be a lot to take care of that and drop the fuel pump and rebuild it. This is pretty cheap online and will at least let us know if this thing will run to begin with. Return is just standard 5/16 line. With our fuel system now hooked up to the boat tank here, ran up to the fuel pump, ran in. What I want to do first is turn our ignition switch on, make sure our stop solenoid clicks on, and then we can run our fuel pump and verify it pushes through that injection pump. And then I'll run a return into a bottle. We can kind of make sure everything comes through clean. And once it does come through clean, and we know it seems to be pushing through okay, then I think we can try to start turning this thing over. And I do apologize for all of the steps that we're taking with this one. This car is really out of our comfort zone. Just mechanically, it's somewhat reliable and simple, but it's still not incredibly inexpensive, especially for some budget folks like us. And so we're just trying to be pretty cautious with getting this thing going as correctly as we possibly can. Now, we're obviously not professionals, but we're trying our best. But let's see what happens here. So with the battery hooked up, I'm gonna get Dad to check and see if that solenoid clicks on.
There it is.
Yeah, see, that's gonna make a mess. Right at the cold start injector without getting all our lines on, that's gonna be kind of tough. Okay, so rubber cap over the cold start injector bung for now. It's probably gonna blow off, but I'm hoping if it actually circulates, it won't build that much pressure, right? So I just need you, if you don't mind, please, Dad, just to go in there and click like you're starting and hold that. And then let's see if it tries and push gas through. Oh yeah. Yeah, key on to crank. You hold it? Oh, I didn't hear it. Cut it off. Do it again. Oh, maybe it holds pressure. Nope, no. It's working, no problem, jumping it out. So what I'm doing now is taking this clear hose, pushing it down onto the injection pump. We're gonna see if it tries to do anything. And it'll also give us an idea coming up if they're similar in output. Just, you know, this is a pretty simple test. It's not gonna tell us the true workings of this thing, but it'll give us an idea, maybe a start. Nothing. Okay. I wonder if that's why this thing was parked. We're not totally done yet. It is really nice seeing that our fuel pump is actually pushing all the way through. Now, there is a possibility that where these come up and out of the injection pump, maybe the little pistons in there are actually stuck. And so what'll happen, and there's a spring under, so you have to be really careful. What'll happen is they'll come all the way up and they'll stay up, and you've got to soak them down and push them down, and maybe that's all we actually have going on. Otherwise, there could be a check valve, check ball issue there. I'm not super sure. There's very limited On this, I think it's kind of on these cars, if your injection pump doesn't work, you send it off to have it rebuilt, but we're gonna try to get it working. Start up front and at least check these front two and just get an idea of what's going on. So we've got this lock here to break loose. Like so. Ah, that's gas. Were we just that close to it pumping gas? Wow, it's so clean. Okay, so this is the little check ball, but that does not mean that our pistons are moving. I am loving seeing that it is so incredibly clean inside. I wonder if all the oil is going to come out that we just put in here. Wow, it's like brand new in there. Rack moves at all. Oh, the rack's moving. Wow, the rack is super free. And you can see actually underneath. Okay, can you turn it over by hand, if you don't mind, please? They're moving really easy, like literally no issues. Okay, so been doing a lot of looking, and this thing is nicer than, that injection pump is way nicer than most of the ones that I see people working on, which is super surprising. Obviously, I think it was a good period of time, 1985, 86, pretty good fuel. Must have had decent oil in there. I did check the dipstick already and just pushing fluid through there. We have no gas. It's not pouring in there. Obviously, it hasn't run yet. So we've just got to figure out why it's not building fuel pressure yet. Could be the shutoff solenoid maybe is stuck. But super, that's really good. Seeing those pistons move freely, you can tell none of them were stuck. It's not like we popped anything free. And the rack moves super nice. The pump looks awesome once it's cleaned up. You can see the little bit here just wiping it off and down on the inside. I mean, it looks brand new as it could look, I suppose. Kind of a fun process of elimination here while we're also learning a ton about how this injection system works. I think I know probably what we have going on. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about it. So the fuel regulation, if you look right here, this is the return line, goes into a fuel pressure regulator on the back side. So because we have fuel coming in and just straight flowing through, we're not actually building enough pressure inside the injection pump to push. That's why we had a little bit of fluid, little bit of gasoline there. It was trying to work, but just not building enough. Does that make sense? So basically it's not building pressure because it's just straight flowing through. You need to have something that it kind of pushes back against or squeezes off the line so it builds enough pressure in here. I hate to spend $100-something for a fuel pressure regulator when the bypass regulator on this thing might work. It's worth a shot. Let's try to hook it up. Honestly, seeing how everything's looking, I think it's gonna probably come down to getting our fuel lines hooked up, getting our regulator hooked up, actually putting our hard lines back on, leaving them cracked here, and see if we start getting flow, because without our cold start injector hooked up and stuff, it's probably gonna shoot that thing through the roof once this thing builds the 140, 150 PSI fuel pressure that they're supposed to. Whew. I don't know why I smelled that. It's kind of a good time too to throw all of our little fittings and stuff here in the ultrasonic cleaner. I like to see stuff cleaned up. I don't really want to take a wire brush to any of this because it's all anodized, and if it'll clean up and the anodizing still looks really nice, I'd definitely like to keep it that way. So this is just like a 50-50 degrees or water. We'll run it in here for 30 minutes. I'm not sure if you can tell, but every piece we pull off, I'm taking the time to kind of clean it up just to see how everything's gonna look. And it's really making me excited. I think just as long as this thing has sat, a lot of those seals have shrunk up, and that's why this thing is so kind of oily and grimy. But I think it's protected it, and when it comes time to clean this thing, I think it's gonna be a really, really fun transformation. Some new compression washers. And a return can go back in place. And for the side of the return that'll be pressurized, we've got fuel injection line with, of course, Audiker clamps. Now, as for the injectors, before we go back in with them, I want to dunk them in here in the ultrasonic cleaner just for a few minutes. We can't really test these things. You got to have like a pressurized pop tester. We could probably design something, but that's if we have running issues. I think for now, we'll make sure our hard lines are nice and clear. We'll put these in the ultrasonic for maybe 15 minutes, let them kind of clean up a little bit, blow them out, put everything together. And I think we're just about ready to see if all this is going to work together to fire that thing up. To keep up with which one's which is we'll just get in here and scribe so we know. Good soup. And those things, yeah, those things are super, super nice. We'll just get in here, make sure we put just a dab. That aluminum anti-seize. And torque them down pretty close to spec. To start with, there's a ton of fuel lines going on here, obviously, and a lot of connections. We'll click our solenoid on and run our fuel pump, and let's just see if anything leaks or not. I don't see any fuel leaks. Do we just try turning it over? I think it's time. I am like so nervous, but so excited. I am shaking. Let's just do it. You ready? turn the key on. Okay, retry. These things had come loose at one of the alligator clips. We spin over now. Let's give it a go, right? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This injector is absolutely spraying gas everywhere, but I think it's because of that. I'm wondering. Oh my gosh, this thing has a good injection pump. It's, holy moly. Let's open this other shop door. Holy moly, holy moly, holy moly, holy moly.
Oh, it blew a little bit out.
Gee.
Oh my goodness.
Did it make a mess?
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna try to just run the fuel pump and not run this, because I'm pretty sure when this is on, it's also running the cold start injector, and there is gas everywhere, which might be the only thing this thing is running off at this point. Well, let's just see what it does, okay? Yeah, ready? Okay, all the idle. Vacuum, huge vacuum leak, okay? Let me cap that off, because that's right at the fuel rail. Huge vacuum,
Yep.
huge vacuum there. Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, it runs. I have the adjustment. So you know it's all. I am shaking so bad. This is just the throttle linkage. Yeah, okay. Let's try it again. Let's do it. Yeah. It's like it was running yesterday. Okay, we can only run it for just a second without getting coolant to it, but listen to this. Is that not amazing? How's the oil pressure, Dad?
All the way to the top.
It is pegged out. What is that, 3 bar? Oh my gosh. Okay, let's kill it. Let's get some water in it. That's a... Okay.
You were so scared for nothing.
It ran so good. I've been so nervous about this one, and that's why this car has been. We've worked on it some and then not, and you'll probably notice in the videos like we've been getting on it and then not getting on it, and that's just because there's a lot of other projects going. There's a lot of other things going on right now, and This is a restoration car, so it's going to be a big project moving forward. But I was really nervous about it too, especially this fuel injection system. And there is not a drip, not a leak. It throttled up no problem. Oh my goodness. Okay, so clearly this solenoid is a cold start. This is a cold start, and then also fires off this injector because now this injector is not leaking because it was just spraying. So the only cutoff is just the fuel pump turns off, like your electric fuel pump turns off, and your ignition turns off, and that's what kills this car. It sounds really, really good. It is still totally ice cold, so not concerned with that one bit. I feel like we should fire it up one more time now, because knowing it's still just completely ice cold. Yep, we should do that. All right, you ready? Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I've heard nothing but good things mechanically about these cars. As nervous as this one has made us, I give it to them. Give it to Mercedes. That is one. That's what, 40 years, 1986. 40 years this thing has not ran, and it just fired up like it was sitting yesterday. We've got an alternator belt, and that is because there was not one on here. And unfortunately, the radiator over here is just absolutely brittle to the touch and literally crumbling away. There's tons of pieces all up in here. It needs to be re-cored. There's just no way that that'll even hold. It's such an absolute mess. Plus, I thought we wanted to start pumping all that through the engine anyways. So for the time being, because there's a lot of other things that we have to do to actually make this thing drivable, what I think we're going to do is get a hose on here, get a hose underneath the bottom where we can at least loop through with water, which will also flush out our cooling system. We'll get our belt on here so we get some nice circulation. We'll get a hose that goes from here over to here to loop our heater core, because it probably looks pretty similar to that radiator. And then I think we can sit here and run this thing for just a little bit and actually get some runtime out of it. Loop right here, which will get rid of that whole warm running device system. The thermostat for it was obviously just completely roached. Definitely gonna need a little cooling system work on. Yeah, let's pull this off and see if there's even a point in trying. Oh yeah, we're good. Okay, so it's just the, yeah. So it's mainly just these. The block is fine, the water pump is fine. It's just these hard lines back to the heater core and all the other little hard lines in between. So I think we're okay there because it's super clean up in this direction. Notice we forgot to put on the vacuum advance. I want to see. It's actually working. How cool is that? That did not taste good. That vacuum advance had a terrible aftertaste. That is way too long. That I think should work. There's no way that thermostat is gonna do anything. So we've got to take it out, which is kind of scary. Being we have steel bolts and aluminum, that's really crusty. So we'll let this impact do its jiggly thing, and hopefully it'll jiggle the bolts out of there. Like so, without breaking them. Okay, one down.
Go.
For 3. And maybe this one's going for 4. Oh my goodness. Is it part of it? No, it should. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know about that thing. Yeah, might not like leak super bad. So this is kind of cool. You may not find it cool, but I kind of find it kind of cool. So it's a Whaler, W-A-H-L-E-R. It's got a 6-7, not sure what that is. It's got a Mercedes part number here, 0022037875. It's a date, 1979, and it's a 79 degrees Celsius. So maybe this thing was still in Germany in 1979. Or maybe that's just how these come. But that's kind of cool. Here's our new, sorry. Here's our new cooling system. Oh yeah. Let's run it some more. It is in fact in gear. Let's put it in park. All right, transmission works. That's good. It doesn't come out of drive. Okay. All right, retry.
How cool is that?
So this thing actually has a big old muffler underneath it. That's why it actually kind of still sounds pretty good. So this has to throttle at the same time. Yeah. Injection pump's working. horrible, doesn't it? I mean, it smells like straight up booty. That stench is the sweet smell of success. What I'm actually doing is advancing the injection pump while giving it more air. So good. I mean, it is. If it had that last muffler, it would be dead quiet. The engine's super quiet. I'm gonna go ahead and just say that is 100% a win. Well, we were given the opportunity to rescue what I think is an extremely iconic car. Something I never thought we'd be able to get our hands on, especially in this condition. And how cool was it to drag it out of that garage where I got to see light for the first time in at least 40 years. And then the question was, can we get this thing to run and actually live again? And sure enough, we took our time, of course, out of fear, I guess you could say, just with everything going on this engine and what some of it could potentially cost. Thankfully, everything went super smooth, and this thing fired back to life and runs like it got parked yesterday. And unfortunately, this thing wasn't parked yesterday. It's quite crunchy, if I think we all know that. All the plastics are disintegrated, so unfortunately we can't just jump in this thing and drive it. When we pulled the column out, the steering, it's got a plastic bushing down there, it disintegrated. All the shifter bushings are gone, all the linkages are gone, all the brake components have eroded away, all the fuel system, at least from here back, needs a ton of addressing. But call us insane, I want to drive this thing just like this. Would I ever get the opportunity again to drive a W113 230 SL Mercedes Pagoda in this condition? Could you imagine this thing going up and down the road like what people, I don't know. I want the opportunity to do it. I think it'll be so much fun, and I hope you all want to come along with us as we do that. And then, of course, with this car, it's been a while since we've done a full restoration. Kind of like the 911, we pulled that thing from the scrapyard. It was a lot of work and it was a huge learning process, but we were able to turn it around into something that I know Dad and I are very proud of. Let's do the same with this one. Let's do a full restoration. It's gonna be lengthy, it's gonna be fairly time consuming, but I think it'll be worth it. And if you wanna see that, be sure to follow along, hit the subscribe button, notification bell to keep up with our future uploads on this car, our other rescues and rebuilds. And if you have been a part of the channel, we do appreciate it so incredibly much. I never would have thought we'd have the opportunity to bring something like this back to life, and we get to do it because of each and every one of you. So thank you, peace out, and catch you all on the flip side.